Hey, good morning and happy Labor Day to all of you. If you happen to be watching this on Monday morning, hopefully you get to enjoy a bit of a shorter week of school this week. Um, let's look ahead at week three. Actually, let's look back at week two here for just a little bit. Um, I'm looking forward to seeing the lessons you guys chose and came up with, and how you're going to implement those in your classrooms, or potentially down the road could implement those in your classrooms. Um, yeah, I can't wait to start reading those. It's going to be a busy week for me. You may notice my wall is a little more bare. We're actually moving to a new house this week, so it's going to be a bit of a crazy week this week. So I'll fit in when I can get you feedback on your projects when I can. Um, so yeah, it's school starting, and adding that to it just adds a bit of a different dimension into it as well. But looking back at week two, active learning, you guys looked at, and that it really resonates well with younger kids. They're kind of used to that. I feel like through the elementary school mindset of maybe a bit of a learning through play, with the teacher facilitating a bit. We don't see that as much as in our middle and high school classrooms, and maybe you all do a better job of that than I do, but kids really gravitate towards that yet. Doesn't matter what age they are. I think we as adults would do the same thing. If we get a chance to play with something, it seems to be much more engaging to us. But active learning can't simply be this trial and error and move on method, which I feel like a lot of people from the outside look at it and go, "Oh, you're just letting them play and figure things out on their own." We as teachers need to be facilitators in that type of environment, and specifically the reflection afterwards, reflection questions at, like what went well, where did you struggle? In the discussion this last week, I believe it was Gabe who talked about in your science class with the scientific method. Um, I did the same thing. I'm a science teacher by trade, and I would ask my students, what would you do next? You're done with the activity. You've written your conclusion. If someone were to take this experiment and go somewhere else, or you were to redo it, what would you do different? What would you do next? And that's really when their reflection back on what they did happens, and learning can continue rather than the activity just being done and then moving on. So I would encourage, as you go through that, act as the facilitator, act as someone who's asking a lot of questions. Not that you have to have all the answers to them, but when they're learning through that, they need feedback from you as you do that. I thought of my own kids while I was doing that. A number of you talked about Scratch in your discussion as well, and my older two kids really like Scratch Junior. I don't know how many of you have gotten into this. Most of you teach older kids, but this is my son's. He's 4, and he made this Scratch Junior on the iPad, and he coded the ability for him to jump up and down on the moon there, which is kind of cool. So he loves doing that, and without me guiding them, it just turns into them playing on the iPad for a while. So I'll ask them, "Hey, can you make this person or this creature do this? Can you make him go around this object or whatever it is?" And then they have a task ahead, and that's problem solving, and they run into issues, and then I can help them and say, "Well, remember you did this over here. What if you applied the same thing over here?" And they love that too. It sets a challenge in front of them rather than just this mindless play and figuring things out on their own. I've done a little bit in my own classroom with, I've got 8th graders. We'll do Sphero and Osmo and Kublets and those types of tech tools, and they're great, but they also want to know, okay, it's great to play, but where do we take it from here? What's our next step? So another thing I've done is I've asked them to write a tech tool review to our elementary teachers, saying, "Hey, if you use this in your class, here's when you could use it. This would be an appropriate time to use it. Here's some of the challenges that might come with it," and it gives them more meaning too, because they know that what they're doing, it has a say in what goes on. It's not just them learning how to do it, but then there's another step. It's active learning, but there's more activity involved with it. So that's something they've really enjoyed. So I challenge you to find those opportunities. I'm trying to keep her shorter this week with the video. So let's look ahead to the next week. We're going to be looking at problem solving techniques with kids. So what you need to be doing for this week is read the section of the book that deals with problem solving. Participate in the discussion. I sent the email out earlier, later last week, I guess. pushing us to cite our information. So as you watch the videos from this week, there's a couple of them as you go through the text. When you include that in your discussion, just we want to be working on our APA citing on our posts and on our submissions as well. So make sure we do that. I'll make sure I include it in the rubrics, and it'll be there. So let's just make a special point to do that this coming week. Then you're going to go to code.org. There's a link on there, so go to that link. Don't just pick anything off of code.org. And then you're going to pick 2 lessons and write a response to how you would use those, how you would present those lessons to your class. And there's some prompt questions there as well. And then finally, you're going to post a Flipgrid video, kind of answering the questions there as well. I'm kind of looking forward to that, just to see and hear from all of you. I put the limit on that for 3 minutes. So you have 3 minutes to answer the questions that are sitting there. So make sure you keep it short, because I clearly cannot keep videos short. So just to recap, reading the book, watching the videos that are linked on there. There's a couple shorter ones. You're going to turn in a submission, and try and make that a Word, a doc, or a Word document, not Google Doc, and or PDF file, so I can read that right away. You're going to submit that, and then make a video on the Flipgrid. If you run into issues, let me know, and I will get back to you on that. Otherwise, have a great week.